the bottom of it with your host, Joshua Moriarty.
Hello, welcome to episode 53 of The Bottom of It. How are you? Nice to have you here for all the new listeners, and welcome back to all the old dogs. Shouldn't call you dog. I don't know. Everyone loves dogs. I can call you dogs. Lovely to have you. Recording this back in Melbourne. I got here a few days ago after a month in LA. It's nice to be back. Then I always miss LA when I leave there too. It's kind of home away from home. So just going to get right into it today. I did enough rambling last episode, if you tuned in, episode 52 with Luke Buda. Today we have Samuel Flynn Scott from the always excellent New Zealand band, the Phoenix Foundation. This is part 2 of my Phoenix Foundation expose extravaganza. Episode 52 is with Luke Buda, the other principal songwriter in the band. I'm such a big fan, I wanted to make sure I interviewed both the singers and songwriters in the band because they're both such talented musicians, and I thought it would be fun to get two different takes on the same band and their thoughts and musings on their careers and highlights and lows and highs and everything together. So Sam is a bloody brilliant songwriter. I love what he does, and he's an incredible lyricist, and so many of his songs have really hit me in that special poignant place that music gets you with. He's not afraid to tell it how he sees it. There's an intimate honesty to his songwriting, and it just really strikes a chord. They also have such beautiful instrumental compositions which complement the sort of singer-songwriter vibes on their records. The production's always super lush, perfectly put together. I just think these guys are the dog snackers. I bloody love them. And one of my favorite bands ever, as you would have heard me say that when I was talking to Luke in the last episode. So yeah, Sam and I caught up back in Wellington when I was there about a month ago. We talk about Metallica, which seems to be a bit of a running theme these two episodes. We talk about stockpiling your songs when you have a creative burst. We discuss the difficulty of songwriting once you become a family man and you can't stay up till all hours of the night strumming away trying to find that perfect chord progression. We talk about their latest album, 2015's Give Up Your Dreams, and what the dream actually was and what that song means to Sam. Yeah, we cover a lot. So here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into it. Episode 53 with Samuel Flynn Scott from the Phoenix Foundation. Enjoy.
These are quite close talkie mics, aren't they, these ones?
They're kind of the standard issue microphone now.
For podcasts or...
Nah, kind of. It feels like for everything.
Right. But they've been around forever, but...
It was just, there was a point, I feel like, maybe 5 or 6 years ago where everyone was telling everyone that they got used for Thriller Michael Jackson, right? Did you hear that story?
I think I have heard that.
Yeah. And then it became, oh, well, we've all got to get one. It might not even be the record, it was just the song.
Right.
And then I guess they're cheap.
I always think of Metallica because they use them in that some kind of monster.
This is funny because Luke
when
and
they're
I
like writing the lyrics and stuff.
That was how we started our chat last night.
Talking about these microphones.
No, about Metallica.
Oh, right.
As well. Are you a fan?
No, not at all. I think I hate Metallica. I've never liked them. I think they're awful. In fact, I heard Ride the Lightning the other day, but I thought it was someone doing a Metallica shreds. Whoa. And then I realized it was actually Metallica.
But it was the real version. It wasn't like...
Yeah, but it was through funny speakers in a cafe. I don't know. It's like I'm not a big metal guy, but if I do want to listen to metal, I want it to be heaps heavier than that, like Slayer or something. I want it to feel like unhinged.
Yeah.
You know, Sepultura kind of feel unhinged.
I think that's kind of... Yeah, and also Ross Robinson's production when he would do it, like when he did that at the Drive-In record and he did...
He did Roots, I think.
Yeah, he did Roots, yeah. And that's kind of his... And he did the first 2 Korn albums as well. Yeah. And they sound
And he probably did like Deftones or something.
I don't know if he ever did quite make it to the Deftones.
They definitely had that same guitar sound.
Yeah, yeah.
Just that...
Scooped mids, is that what they call it?
Probably, yeah.
Did you ever play mid? So you never played heavy music?
We were a metal band before we were a wibbly... folky, indie, whatever band we were at the start.
Folky indie will do.
Yeah.
Was there a guy called Noel in your band?
Yeah.
Yeah. I jammed with Noel for a little while.
Right. In New Zealand or in Australia?
No, here. Me, Tooks from Weta, the bass player from Weta, and Noel had like a jam band for about 6 months. And I feel like he said you guys fired him or something. This is what, we're talking 15, 16, 17 years ago or
We
something?
did fire him. Yeah.
It's too metal.
Well-
metal AF.
It was just a personality clash. It wasn't really to do with me, but there was a personality clash between him and someone else in the band, and
Yeah.
I don't know. Probably didn't handle that very well. He's a great. I love Noel. He's a great guy. He's very different. He's from a very different background to us, and I think I didn't really appreciate that back when we were 19 years old.
That's how old
Yeah.
you would have been. And so it was kind of rock metal. What were you shredding or?
He was actually in the Phoenix Foundation, so he wasn't in the metal.
Yeah,
version.
right.
The metal version was this guy Matt, who he was a lovely sweet boy, and he got fucking murdered by some meth dealers a few years ago, and I hadn't seen him in like 20 years, and then all of a sudden he was in the news because he got murdered.
So the meth thing's still going on here.
Yeah, big time. I think everywhere in the world.
Yeah, yeah.
But this
that's
crazy as shit. Like, it felt like this was our high school metal band, and this dude's been murdered. Yeah, that was crazy.
You only really get murdered for that sort of thing, don't you? It seems like there has to be.
Yeah, I don't know if he was necessarily. I think maybe he just got in the wrong place at the wrong time, kind of thing. I don't think he was necessarily involved in anything particularly untoward himself.
Right.
I think it might have been more like these dudes are real sketchy, and I actually can't remember. I should know more details about it, but
That's
I found it quite hard to actually read about it at the time because it felt like I wasn't. All of a sudden, it felt like someone who I hadn't made any effort to keep up with.
Mm-hmm.
There was just all this stuff in the news every day, and it felt like I was prying to read about it because of knowing him from a different time. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's sort of like if you're just reading about someone you don't know, it's like, oh yeah, they did this and they did that. But if it's someone you sort of know, but you haven't kept up with them in any way, you've got no mutual friends anymore, and you're just reading about all these intimate details of their life, you just feel like you're butting in on something that you don't have a right to.
Did they write about it in quite a tragic, scary, sensationalist way as well? Factual, how...
Yeah, I mean, I know they just wrote about it, how they write about crazy fucking murders.
Yeah, I guess I just don't really read the newspapers or anything anymore. I stay away from all of it. I'm not like a conspiracy theorist or something. I just sort of find so much of the news angle in a particular way.
Yeah, well, it's certainly more and more it feels like because news organizations are so desperate to financially survive, they're trying to sell you something more and more.
But I feel like maybe I don't want to believe it happens so much in New Zealand in the newspaper that maybe they're actually still got some class, but
they're all shit. I mean, national radio's all right, and I think I just think that news should be quite a centralized, government-funded but completely independent thing. And I think we've got this real problem in society where there are so many different news outlets, so many different news channels, and so many different news websites, and so much bullshit. And now we've all got these different narratives in our heads. And 30 years ago, we were all watching one or two channels, and we were all pretty much getting the same story. And whether or not it was the right story or it was accurate,
of course,
there was still a certain amount of just people are like, oh, that's happened, that's terrible. Not like, that's happened, it's terrible. And then the person next to you goes, no, well, I've actually been looking. Yeah, no, it didn't happen.
It didn't happen at all.
Yeah, it didn't happen at all. I listened to this terrible podcast, and this guy told me that it was a false flag.
Do you have sources that you go to, or do you stay out of it? Where do you sit with all that?
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, the New Yorker podcast and Guardian and all the liberal bullshit that you'd expect someone like me to read. Hang on, I'm just got to check. Oh,
yeah, do it.
Just checking in on my sons. My mum sending me a photo of my sons in the bath. Just like,
how old are your sons?
They are 9 and 4.
Yeah, okay.
And they're away for the weekend because my wife is still in Auckland. We've just moved back to Wellington a couple of days ago. She's still in Auckland studying, and I have to go away.
You're playing not tomorrow, the next?
No, tomorrow and the next day. Yeah.
Right. First shows in a while.
First shows in ages, yeah.
Are you excited?
Yeah, pretty excited. I think I'm excited that it's like the start of a period where there'll be lots of shows and more recording and more doing things and more thinking of myself as someone in a band. Whereas I think the last few years, even though we've been working on a record for 3 years, there's a certain element of me kind of thinking, oh, I have to do this band stuff, but it's not the priority right now.
Yeah, so what other things are you doing when you're not doing music then?
I write about food.
Okay.
And me and Luke and Conrad all make music together for film and TV.
Yeah, you guys have been scoring quite a few things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Auckland, how... Wellington versus Auckland. Is that even still a real
It shouldn't
thing?
be a real thing. I mean, Auckland's way bigger and there's heaps of cool shit
fuck
that
those
you're
guys,
just...
man.
Fuck those guys. There's heaps of good shit that you're never going to get in a city the size of Wellington. Wellington's small, but there's also things about a small city that a big city can never compete with.
Yeah.
And so it's a bit weird being back, but I think it will be, once we get used to it, it'll be like, oh yeah, that's right. Everything's a bit cheaper and it's easier to get around and it's just easier to have a life here.
It is funny when you do leave it for a while, Wellington, and then you come back, it does feel quite small again, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But then that's kind of, I'm enjoying that while I'm here for this trip anyway. I'm like,
yeah, but you're visiting though. Like if you were like suddenly
visiting.
like, I'm going to move back. The moment you move back, you'd be like, oh, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really less energy going on. Like that's the thing that, that's the thing I'm feeling now. I've been coming back all the time to do work and to see people, and it's all just, yeah, great to be back in Wellington. And then I came back and I was like, oh, okay, I'm back here to live now, and I have the city doesn't pull you along. You have to make your own.
Yeah. Does that affect your songwriting, your ability to write? Do you need different?
I don't know.
Changing a lot, or
actually, I wrote fuck all while I was in Auckland.
yeah, because you're working on other
Because I was
projects.
working on other things, yeah. And I had a big songwriting period before I left, so I kind of had made a little stockpile.
Yeah. Is there a way that you do it? It's always random. You set months aside, days aside, hours. You steal chords off people.
Yeah.
I mean,
all those sorts of
we
things.
all do that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to write a song because you hear something and you're like, I have to try and do something that has a tiny bit of that spirit.
Yeah.
And so that's when it's like I ignore everyone in the family for half an hour, go away and just record ideas onto my iPhone because I have something in my head that I just have to get out. But a lot of the time, more recently, it's like I do have to put aside a few days and go, I'm going to be writing, and I just have to turn off my phone and work from 9 to 5 just on whatever I can.
Yeah.
And usually it's really hard to get into it. It takes quite a while to get that happening.
Of course. Everyone that has families and children has said that this has become way more difficult, I suppose. Or maybe has to be more structured, like you have to properly set the hours aside.
Yeah. I think especially when the kids are young, you have to be quite really structured, and it's just actually really hard to do it. Mm-hmm. I think this is a thing, I was always fascinated when I was first really getting into music in like the sort of mid-90s, I guess, and I loved 60s music. I loved all the classic songwriters and rock stars and everything. And I was fascinated by how shit everything they were doing at that time seemed to be, and everything Bob Dylan or Robert Plant, and quite often actually I like these things now, but I thought they were terrible at the time. Everything they did from about 1982 onwards, all the 60s artists,
yeah,
all the David Bowie,
once
everyone,
they were all dads.
That's what I realize now.
Yeah,
is that they were all going through periods where they probably had demands on them from the industries that build up around them to keep making records, but they were probably all just like, oh, I'm really fucking tired because my baby doesn't sleep very well,
and now I
don't have as much time. I'm not going into the studio for as long, and I'm not staying up all night with my acoustic guitar, trying to write Life on Mars, just trying to like find the next perfect chord change. I'll just shit out a Tin Machine album. Is that what they were called? Tin Machine?
Which one's Tin Machine?
That's like David Bowie's kind of
Traveling Wilburys kind of thing.
No,
it
it's like Pixies. It was like his Pixies band.
Oh, what? Really? I don't think I've ever heard it.
It's really bad.
Who's in it?
So it's got the guitarist who now Reeves Gabriel, is that his name?
I don't know who that is. What about the iPhone?
Yeah, Reeves Gabriel.
What's it called? Tin Man?
I think Tin Machine.
Tin Machine, sorry.
Reeves Gabriels.
I've never heard of this.
Yeah, Tin Machine. Yeah, it's not good. It's pretty bad. It's just sort of some bad Bowie. But I mean, you know, like it could have been really good. Like I think he just loved the Pixies. Like he just heard the Pixies and was like, "This is."
So what year? This is in the 90s.
This would have been late 80s.
Late 80s.
Yeah. So before he got into drum and bass. And and you sort of can laugh at David Bowie for going, "Oh well, he's heard the Pixies and now he's making like this kind of indie rock album with like nasty guitars." Or he's heard drum and bass now, he's making a drum and bass album. But then you sort of look back on it and go, "Wow, fuck! He just never became cynical about what things people were doing."
Mm-hmm.
And I think most people, as they get older, they kind of go, "I can't be fucked with the new music." I know that's what I'm like. I don't really know what's happening.
Do you try and fight against that in yourself, though, or you just accept it?
I just accept it. I've just given into it. I don't really know what. Every now and again, I hear a new pop song, and go, "That's fucking awesome!"
Like a proper on the radio pop song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm dead to it when I feel like it's infectious. But usually, I like them about a year after they've come out, and I've heard them a lot.
Yeah, sure. What was the last one? I'm trying to think of. There's some Bruno Mars ones I really enjoy.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he does it for me for some reason. I think it's his voice. It gets me in the spot.
There was that huge hit with him on it, that Mark Ronson track. What was that? That was actually pretty.
Yeah, Uptown Funk.
Yeah,
that was huge.
I mean, that's like the biggest song of the last 5 years, right?
Yeah.
There's a Selena Gomez track I really liked. Bad Liar.
I don't know if I've heard that one. There's a few Katy Perry ones that always get me as well. Fireworks
was pretty banging track. It's quite old now.
Yeah. That's right.
So I'm not dead to a good pop song, but I'm just not going to pay attention to what the new genre is, because I'm just not that. I'm not David Bowie. I'm not that kind of person. I'm not a chameleon who's going to be like, "This is amazing. I'm going to tune into this new wavelength."
Yeah, but then I think also I would be similar to you in that way, but I still don't find that I run out of inspiration, because you just
certainly not. It's not about running out of inspiration. It's more that I'm not going to be.
You don't chase the trends.
I'm not chasing the trends.
Yeah.
But I don't think there's anything wrong with chasing the trends at all.
Yeah, sure.
And I especially think now it seems like maybe at one point it would have seemed uncool to chase the trends. I think it's quite uncool now not to chase the trends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a little bit of that.
It's like how it used to be a total nightmare if you sold your music to an ad. People just think you're a total sellout loser.
Well,
but now
you
it's
have
kind of like
to survive, though, don't you?
And it's kind of a bit of a badge of honor. I think people seem to love it.
Yeah. Well, did I hear the Black Seeds on KFC the other night when I was watching the telly? Oh
shit! Yeah, that's a big one. And
something so true. Is it that one? Dude, I feel for you.
And I think they had a bit of a debate about that.
That
would have been a tough one. It would have been a tricky one, because it would have been.
That is Satan, basically.
I don't think any of them would eat KFC. They're just not those kinds of dudes.
Yeah, they'd be vegans.
Probably.
They've got to be a little bit, like half of them at least.
Yeah, maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But do you take the devil's money and use it for good then?
Well, I just think you just take the money because you need some money.
Yeah, I know. I kind of agree.
And whether or not you're using it for good, or you're just using it for the mortgage, or because you've got a really old shit car and it'd be quite nice to have a slightly nicer car.
Yeah, I think so. But also if you're putting, and especially a band like that, I guess it's like quite positive music, isn't it? That sort of feels like their ethos. So if you're using that money and it maintains your ability to continue to make positive...
Yeah.
But then it's your song being affiliated with something like KFC.
It's their biggest song too. It must have been a good payday. They wouldn't have done it if it wasn't a good payday. And I definitely don't begrudge them that at all. But
yeah.
I can see how that one, if that one came up for a big Phoenix Foundation song, I think it probably, I would probably say let's just do it, and I think other people in the band would say no, we can't go that far.
Yeah, you don't know until the paycheck, till they tell you what the figure is, huh? The Datsuns had a KFC one, didn't they? And then that sort of funded them early, like back in that first record time.
Right.
And that was kind of what got them over to the UK and helped them get their break, I think.
Supergroove had that Munchos ad.
Whoa.
That was almost what made them famous. Do you remember that?
Yes, sort of. I've kind of. What song was that?
It was a Munchos song, and it had, I think, Mal Meninga, the like rugby league star, in it as well.
And did they write the Munchos song? I saw this is very vague. I'll have to link this in the podcast.
I can't remember. It's just one of those raps, Carl Steven raps.
Yeah.
If you're hungry in your belly, you better get some Munchos. I can't remember how it went at all. He's a really good film composer now.
Really?
The singer from Supergroove, yeah.
So he just wasn't a great singer necessarily. Like, I don't mean that in a mean way, because he did a great job at what it was he did. But he
had a certain kind of snarky, goofy style.
But he never sung in tune. Like, he wasn't a singer in that sense. I don't know.
No, but they had that album after Shay Fu left, which has got some more. It's more songy. No one's heard it, but for some reason I liked it. I told Carl that I liked it. And he was like, that album ruined my life because it was just, we were lost and confused and like, they'd been this funk band. Shay Fu was in the band, and then they wanted to go in a indie pop direction. Mm-hmm. And I think kind of maybe that's why Shay left. And it's like, they probably could have made it, and then he went on, he did like Chains is like the next thing he did. And
he became,
to be specific. And,
yeah. You got any albums of yours that have ruined your life?
No, I don't think so. I've definitely got lots of bits of music that I don't really like, but that was the album that broke them up, and no one liked it. But it had the song on it, "If I Had My Way."
Was that the single sort of at the time? I think.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
I can't really remember it.
If I had my way, and they're all on like those funny,
right,
those exercise machines that look like you're humping the sky.
Yeah. Okay. What year is this? Like 94, maybe.
This must be later than that. This must be like 97.
Interesting.
I think to be specific was 99. So maybe it was even, I don't know.
Is Shay Fu still around making music? Is he in New Zealand?
Yeah, he hasn't put out a record in a long time, I guess. But yeah, he does the occasional gig and stuff.
Yeah, right.
I mean, those first two Shay Fu records are classic.
Yeah, right. No, they still sound really, really good as well. The production hasn't dated in a bad way or anything like that. But then I've been listening to Pegasus ever since it's come out, and that to me has not dated in any way whatsoever.
Oh, that's nice.
To throw that back at you, Sam.
Okay, well, that's nice to hear. When I hear it now, I just hear how... I just hear the funny quality of these microphones we had at the time.
What did you guys recorded it yourself more or something?
No, that was with Lee. That was all fully with Lee Preble.
Yeah.
But we didn't have any. He didn't have much good gear, and we just had these K2 these Australian K2 Rode K2 microphones, which have like a kind of a 4K spike. Which
and you can just hear that
out of everything. But now when I hear the record, I just think about those microphones, even though it sounds lovely and Lee did a great job on it.
Yeah, fuck. So because I have,
which is a dumb thing to think about. I should not think about.
But you can't help that. Will be there probably. If it's not gone by now, maybe in another 20 years that might.
Maybe I haven't listened to it in a long time, and I think I probably would quite like it if I listened to it now. And I think like Hitchcock, the instrumental on it, that sounds really good.
Excellent tune.
That's a really good recording, and no, it's a nice record. It seems to be one of the records of ours that people stick with. That it's really the people who got into that at the time. They kind of keep it close to their heart, which is nice.
Yeah. It is funny when you're the one who's made it, though, and what you hear when you hear it is completely different.
Yeah.
Because I hear cool rooms and people experimenting, and there's lots of like that cool shit that's in it, like where you can hear the start of the song and there's like chatter and there's noises and things like that.
Well, we were really into Cornelius at the time.
Right.
And,
man, he just played in LA and I was there and I fucking missed it, and I'm really, really sad about it.
I've never seen him. Conrad from Phoenix Foundation saw him in Japan a couple of years ago and said it was amazing.
Yeah, it's one of the great. Have you seen that Sensuous DVD thing?
No.
Okay, I think you can see a bit of it on the internet. Anyway, sorry, I've interrupted your story. You were really into Cornelius at the time.
Yeah, so he has all that stuff where you really hear the thing.
Yeah,
you really hear the instrument for what it is, in a way that's almost, it's like hyper realism, and it's still something I'd love to get. But I think we quite often cloud things in reverb. But I do think if you can record something and you hear the room and you hear the instrument and you sort of feel the distance between the instrument and the listener, that's a really incredible audio quality. And not many recordings have that, but Cornelius always has it, where you kind of go, oh, that thing it's just in a physical space somehow.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that too. But I've always found whenever I've done that on songs of my own, because I know what the room is and I know the distance in the instrument, it won't ever sound magical to me because I can hear exactly where it was done. But when I listen to other people's records who do it, I'm like, where were they? What was that space that they were in when they did that, you know? Yeah,
it's always about kind of like clearing out the clutter as well, though, to get that cool sound, you know? It's like once you've got 20 things on a track, you can't really hear any of them.
Yeah.
You kind of have that beautiful production. But then if you just kind of mute everything and just hear that one thing, and then you kind of go, and then you like really compress it and just
I just love
really
pushing to just pan them hard left, hard right, and then they kind of end up poking out in a nice way if you don't have too many of them there. But the songs on that record, the lyrics and the songwriting and everything, it's all like totally there. You guys, you were on.
Yeah, I think I was in a bit. It's an interesting record because it's the one. There's lots of everyone's contributing massive amounts, but a lot of the songs and all of the lyrics and stuff came from me, just in a bit of a kind of crazed songwriting kind of in quite a fruitful period. But like, because there's not, like, Luke doesn't sing any songs on that record, which
he doesn't, eh? Yeah, I was thinking that. I was like, am I missing something where in the early days your voices sounded too similar and I didn't notice? But his tone is very different to yours, especially as it progresses, as the albums go on. I was like, I'm missing something here. But yeah, that's right, isn't it?
What's crazy, and like one of the big singles from the first record was him singing and stuff. I don't know why that is. I really don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I try to think about like what songs of his. Yeah, but fuck, I actually just can't kind of work out how that happened. Maybe that was around the time he had his first kid, but no, that was later. That was when we were doing Buffalo. And then if you look at the albums before it and after it, it's just packed with Luke songs. But that means in some ways there is a kind of that record. It's got the instrumentals. It's got one written by Luke, one written by Con, one written by Will, and then all the lyrics kind of flowing through it are all coming out of just my brain in a bit of a fever pitch sort of.
Do you still write like that with the lyrics?
No, not at all. It takes me so long to write stuff now.
Why the change?
Well, just the energy. It's just the age, you know.
All those questions.
All right. Have we not started the interview yet?
No, of course. I just don't like to open it and let anyone see what's going on for a while. It was the same when I opened it with Luke last night. We're like, oh, shit.
You're prepared.
Yeah, man, I've been in a like full Phoenix Foundation hole through like this week, just going over and over. I've thrashed your records anyway, but then kind of was quite excited to get to talk to you guys because you're one of my favorite bands.
Oh, thank you, Josh.
Yeah, I love it. Seriously, I kind of gone deep. But anyway, sorry, please continue. Where were we?
I don't know. Songwriting, lyrics. I mean, you're a songwriter. You know, the lyrics are kind of the hardest thing, right?
It didn't used to be when I was younger because I didn't care nearly as much, and you would just kind of let it all out. And now I'm way more anal in particular about what I should be saying. Yeah, absolutely. It's changed a lot.
Excuse me, I've been listening to your band, and now I'm so fucking tired I've forgotten the name of them. What's the Australian band you're in?
Miami Horror.
Miami Horror, that's right. Do you write the lyrics in that band? Because you sing them, right? But
There's a lot of guest vocalists in that band. So I sing a few of them.
Yeah.
Some of them like a bunch I've written with the other guys in the band. But
right.
They're always pretty conceptual. Like there's an idea of what they need to be. So it's like you're writing to a brief a little more, which is sometimes easier when you figure out. That's always like that with songs, though, don't you think? Once you know what it is once you get the identity of the song, it's way easier.
Yeah, there's always a point, though, when it becomes impossible to finish them. I find no matter what's going on, there's always a time when I'm just like, oh, how the fuck do I?
40 years sounds like it came out really, really quickly. Is that the case?
Well, 40 years... No. 40 years we were writing straight after we did Horsepower.
Okay.
And...
oh, wow. So it's a few records back.
So that's a song that I sing, but there's no way I'd say I wrote that song because we just kept on working it in different versions in the band room for years. So it's on the third record, but we were working on it before anything on the second record.
Interesting. What took so long? So you had the chords and then you didn't have the...
We had the... I think the first thing I had was that maybe the bong ding 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 bong ding 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 bong ding 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 bong ding ding guitar line. Maybe. I think that was one of the first things. And the kind of lyrics, the verse lyrics. But the chorus was completely different and was kind of never worked. And I don't know. It sort of seemed like it was a simple thing, but it could never quite make sense. And I think it was one of those... Quite often when things are difficult, Luke will have a lot of different ideas on how to approach it, and we'll just go through so many different things. Like All in an Afternoon, the bridge in that, we could never get that right. And I think we've lost it, but there was some hard drive that had like 20 different versions, and they were like, there was like just full on Brian Eno ambient bridge and really heavy bridge. And
this all makes me feel a lot better hearing all this, by the way.
Oh, it's all difficult. It's all difficult all the time. It
is. It's just like a constant problem solving.
Yeah.
I find throughout my day, every day, forever, that is what is weighing on my mind. It's just like there's 3 or 4 half-finished songs that I'm problem solving at all times, and I just can't let them go until they're done. Like even tomorrow, I'm going to record with Lee just while I'm in town because I need to record.
The Rhodes?
Yeah, Rhodes for a song that I tried to do something recently and it just didn't work. And I'm like, fuck, we've got to get the real thing. And it's just, it's this never-ending kind of mission, isn't it? Yeah,
for sure. I do find with my solo stuff, when I move away from the Phoenix Foundation, I tend to work really quickly when I know that I'm the only person who it has to satisfy.
Right.
Then I kind of work really fast, and I'll like write and record a whole record in like 2 weeks. But I can only do that every 4 years or something.
Yeah, it's hard when you've got to contribute all the songs to a band and then do that at the same time. But when was the last solo record? Because it's the 2006, right? There's that
There's the first one. So there's 3. They've all got different names.
They're all under a different project name.
Yeah.
Because I know the one that's just Samuel Flynn Scott. I was listening to that again today, and I remember listening to it when it came out. That one's a little scary. It's quite there's an ominousness to that one, I find. I think that was kind of my intention, was to sort of make a bleak New Zealand folk record with like a kind of discordant underpinning. Yeah, some of those, like, there's real wild pavementy kind of solo in one of them. It's just like wonky. It's cool. It's unsettling. But were you feeling like that at the time when you're writing it? Like you were sort of a bit on edge, or? It was half written when I was quite sort of depressed. It was quite a sort of shitty period in my time. I was sort of around when I was doing the second Fly My Pretties record, and I wasn't really feeling that project at that point, and I was drinking a lot, and It feels like that. Like it sounds
Yeah.
like that to me. I thought that was underneath it, but wasn't entirely
there was
sure.
a bad breakup, and then after the breakup, my uncle, who I barely knew, he committed suicide. So there's like a song about that. But he lived in England. I really hardly knew him, so it wasn't like I was, deeply upset about a loss. But it was more just like this kind of dark thing in the family, and that's what the song "War Over Water" came out of, because he was in Iraq he was a war correspondent, and so that's where he kind of got all his trauma from. But so there were kind of a bunch of dark themes. I think quite often my songs are actually pretty dark if you scratch through the surface. But
I've written a bunch of them down. Like, it's black, my heart, I wear it well. When I was listening through, it's like the world is bright grey, and that's the state of my mind.
It's black, my heart, I wear it well.
It's black, my heart, I wear it well. Gandalf, isn't it?
Oh yeah, okay, yeah. Fuck, I haven't sung that song in a long time. So that's me and Luke. That's a piece of music of Luke's, and then me and him actually sat down and wrote the lyrics together, which we've done very rarely. But
so
that was a nice process.
Your heart's not that black.
No. Well, Luke's songs are even bleaker than mine, I think.
Well, that's interesting.
There's a new one of his called "Miserable Meal," which I think is such a Luke title for a song.
I mentioned that to him last night because I hear your misery more, I think, lyrically, and then he said, "Oh no, I'm just as bad." But he, I don't know, maybe he disguises it more or something.
I think his can be like darker, but it can be so dark that it just feels silly.
Yeah, maybe that's it. Where's the darkness coming from, Sam?
I don't know. Everyone writes dark, sad songs, don't they? I guess it was just maybe that's the music we grew up with.
Yeah,
Nick Drake, Sparkle Horse, and
but that's not necessarily the music you grew up with. That's the music you gravitated towards.
That's the music we gravitated towards when we were working out who we were as a band.
Yeah,
so I guess when we were teenagers, I was listening to a lot of hip hop and a lot of Pavement and, or I don't know, just Nirvana or whatever, that sort of stuff. All the 90s things that were around. And then I think when I was like, I don't want to be in a heavy metal band, and we all wanted to keep making music together. We had to work out what the inspiration would be for a band, because Conrad and Luke were much more proficient musicians than me, and they came out of metal, so that everyone had to find a new angle, and they weren't necessarily just completely into metal, but it was like that's what they were that's where their musical trajectories were going. And then I think the bands we all could vibe on at that time would have been Spiritualized, Sparkle Horse. People seem to be really getting into Nick Drake at that time. Yeah, those are probably the main ones really at that time.
Yeah.
And then a bit of, in Pavement, we were sort of more understanding Pavement a bit more, which is so silly. Pavement is so silly. And then Nick Drake's so earnest. So we've kind of landed in this point in between where our songs either feel like they're being really earnest and sappy, or they're being quite silly and irreverent.
Mm-hmm. But I guess lyrically you can go anywhere you want, don't you think, because the music can be one thing, but what you just choose to sing about can go anywhere.
Yeah, but it's so hard to kind of
write a happy song,
or just to sing anything is just impossible. But I think like a lot of the shit I wrote when I was young was just like sad dude stuff, and I kind of look at it now and go, these songs, I don't want to diss them out because people like them and they probably mean stuff to people, but I kind of think like the person singing those songs was fairly self-important. Like there's a bit of just get over yourself.
Yeah,
dude,
sure.
Breakup stuff where I'm just like, oh, you little idiot. But I don't know.
And then give up your dreams then.
Yeah, well, that's a lyric
tie?
I can fully stand behind. I think that's one of the best lyrics I've ever written, and it's very honest and it's funny, but it's completely serious.
Mm-hmm.
And
it comes across that way.
And I've had some great responses when I've played that, I was playing support for the dude from Sebadoh.
Yeah, what is that guy's name?
He's great. What's wrong with my brain? I'm super
If
tired.
it makes you feel better, my brain stopped. I'm not even super tired. My brain just stopped working as well. So I think it's called.
Oh, it's Lou Barlow.
Yes,
of
that's
course,
his name.
Lou Barlow. So I was playing support for Lou Barlow, and he doesn't travel with a phone. And
Wow.
this
is recently as well.
This is like 3 years ago or something.
Okay.
And I played my set, and I came off stage, and he was like, "Great show, man." I was like, "Oh, thanks, Lou." He was like, "Oh no, I don't have a phone." I was like, "Okay, oh, you don't have a phone? Cool. What's the really?" And he's like, "No, like I just was sitting here. I wasn't doing anything. I was just sitting here. I just listened to all of your lyrics. Just really good lyrics, man. Really good songs. And Give Up Your Dreams. I felt like it's just about my life, and it's great to be able to hear a song that's about that." I was like, whoa. Like the fact that you so often play support shows and you just feel like the person doesn't care at all. And this Lou's just super awkward. Obviously, he probably didn't really want to chat with me, but he sat there and he listened to the whole show, backstage, but just off stage, so you can at San Fran where you can hear it all. And then it picked out different tracks and talked to me about different things. And it was like, oh, this is fucking great. I never pay attention to support bands when I'm the headline act. And it made me feel like, this is really a good way to live. Just not have a fucking phone and actually pay attention to shit going on and realize that stuff's good. And the other person who talked to me about that song that I really liked was Tim Finn. Was like, oh, this is one of the songs of the last few years that I can actually go, that song's about a thing that I totally understand and feel. And that's the thing that I do try to do more and more. And I think I started trying to do it probably around Buffalo and my solo record, Strain Answer Machine, which was my second solo record, is just try and say stuff in songs that's actually a thing. That's not just like, oh, I feel sad. The cosmos is trying to, but actually go, what's a thing in my life or in the world around me that I can actually pin something specific on? And if you get really specific, then things I think can feel more intense because there's that's just sort of something that's like really real, even if it's not that tragic or dramatic, can just feel a bit more relevant.
Yeah, I get it. Was there a dream that was given up?
Yes, definitely.
I'm
100%.
sure you've been asked this before.
Well, but I mean, it was because Buffalo did really good in England.
Yeah, I watched the Jules Holland once. You guys sounded excellent. Right,
yeah. I kind of wish we'd been a bit looser. But we're a bit kind of tidy or something, but no, it was good. We did a good job, and it was huge, and that was like straight after that, we sold loads of records over there. We'd already sold a few, we'd already been selling all right, and we were getting played on all BBC Six and all these commercial stations as well, and getting played on stations across Europe and interesting radio stations in South America and Japan and student stations across America. And it was like, oh, it's all kind of the things we've been trying to do for 10 years are all kind of happening.
The thing's happening.
But then we couldn't really capitalize on it. We sort of ran out of money. Everyone had children. We had to get back to our lives. And then we made another record. Nothing on the record stuck. Nothing on the record was like,
this is Fandango.
This Fandango.
It's a great record.
I really like that record, but it's
Tim Soup's on that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
Excellent song, Sam.
Getting quite specific. And that song's really about being on tour and trying to call your family on the other side of the world and the time zones and the mental fuck ups and all that sort of shit, and just feeling insane, and then like going out and getting fucked up. And like, getting a call maybe from your child at 3 a.m. when you're just like out of it and in London, and then you're like, oh, hey honey, and
It's
like,
funny
just
that
feeling like a dick.
you
for
say
being
it's so
for-
specific, but in the way that I've heard it, I haven't thought. I mean, I
No,
get
maybe it's not as specific as I meant it to be. Actually,
yeah, I think it can resonate in other ways because I hadn't even thought so much about it being that until just recently when I was listening to it again before I came to meet you guys. But it, no matter what, it just resonated anyway. Just I think just melodically in the chords and just feels like just a really great song.
yeah.
But
Well,
anyway,
I thought it was a really satisfyingly crafted song, and I thought it would do all right.
It's a
But
real-
that was the one that the record company were like, yeah, this will get on BBC Six and
Right.
everything, and it didn't do anything. No one played it, and so then you sort of go, oh, right, what do we do? So then the album after that we did Give Up Your Dreams, because when we were on that Fandango tour and nothing was getting on the radio, we were still playing good shows to lots of people. For what we could have expected a few years earlier, we were still playing a cool little venue in Manchester that's like 200 capacity and it's selling out or something, and we're playing a great fun show.
Yeah.
But then we're worrying about what's happening on the radio, and we had Lawrence Arabia on tour with us, supporting, and he was like, "You guys just need to fucking give up on all this shit and enjoy what you're doing right now, because you're ruining your brains by chasing the dream in your heads as opposed to just doing what's in front of you, which is good, which is a fun time on the road."
And that stuck with you?
Yeah, I just thought that was great, and I was kind of already my head was already going that way, but I think Luke was getting very wound up in how we weren't getting the same responses as we did with Buffalo, and it was nice to have an outside voice kind of talking him and me down. And James, we always listen to James,
Yeah.
because he's a wise young man.
And so then, so there's no more dreams at all of what you do with your music career? That's like
No, and it's not about that. It's about like
expectation.
it's just
more
about
so.
it's about not beating yourself up, really.
Yeah.
And
Live,
just,
love,
and-
laugh, eh?
Yeah, live, love, love, all that
Shit,
shit.
just called it that.
It is like an affirmation, but because we tried to play on that and tried to make all the promo around the album just like feel like affirmations, but like really negative affirmations. So we did like poster runs with the lyrics from that song with like no sort of other references around town. Just like it would just be a poster up on a wall that says "The world is not an oyster," but no one fucking noticed. But it was fun for us.
Yeah, it's hard to know how serious that message was or how you guys were feeling at the time. I mean, you can tell it's in jest. It's like just not sure exactly what is behind it,
Yeah, I think it's definitely fully in jest, and we still wanted people to buy the record. And the other thing was we were like, how do we make this song as popular as possible now that we're pretending that we don't want to be popular? And so we got like Brett McKenzie to be in the music video.
Yeah.
We got Neil Finn to do a remix. We were like, let's ask the most famous people we know to help us out.
Yeah, that's cool.
But it was always too negative a message to really be a hit. But still, I think it was a song that, people, I think it did resonate with people in some way.
And with the new record, what's going on? It's nearly finished, isn't
Nearly
it?
finished. Yeah, I think it's probably, if you go back through our back catalogue, the record it's probably like the most is probably Pegasus.
Okay.
And that it is quite songy and quite sort of structured.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting. I just don't know. I think it's been such a long time between albums, and we've never had that, and so it's going to be really interesting to see if people still know who we are.
Will you have a point where you think you guys are done, or would you think you would be finished with music? Is there a bunch of records you still haven't done, like heaps more ideas or projects?
Yeah, I think I'll just keep doing it like forever, but and giving them to record companies, and if they want to put them out, then they'll put them out, and if they don't, then I'll, find my own way to put them out. But if things are going to be successful or take us to the next level or whatever. It's so out of my control. I'm just not going to try and make anything that's particularly trying to be successful. I'm just going to try and be successful creatively, and then just see
Did that
what
ever
happens.
influence you guys? I don't feel like it
No,
did.
not
yeah.
really. Not really. But I think we started to feel like that's what people thought we should be doing or something. Maybe Happy Ending, there was a little bit of us trying to make a bigger record with Happy Ending. And it was a bigger record. You know, it got, in terms of radio and stuff, it got the most radio play of any... In New Zealand, by far, it got the most commercial play. You know, a few spins on the outer reaches of the edge or something, you know, that kind of shit. Some ZM New Zealand will play a New Zealand song once a week type thing. Rock and stuff.
The Rock.
The
wow.
Rock. So that was there was a tiny bit of us going, let's make some stuff that's got a bit more energy to it. And that did pay off. But then now when we want to do stuff with more energy, we want that energy to be a very twisted energy. And I think Give Up Your Dreams is really quite a driving record. And I think the new one is definitely a lot more chill.
Yeah, okay. I just love that you guys do... It's something I've talked about with a few friends, just music that I call useless. And I mean that in a way where it's like... complete art for art's sake. It's not like some of those instrumental songs like Omerta and was it Chorale or whatever, where they're just there to be beautiful pieces of music. There's not even lyrics some of those times, you know, and it's just like you serve a piece of music because it just needs to be made. And I fucking love that. Like Hitchcock's
feel like
that
dreams,
example.
you know. It's I kind of know what you mean. They're not fitting into a contemporary conventional kind of
they're compositions like
box of
just to be music, and you add the elements that need to be there and say, it just doesn't need vocals, okay, we won't do that, we'll just put you know, backing vocals or whatever it is.
It doesn't fit a format.
And I love that. I mean, that's what Air as a band kind of are a lot of the time. It's
well, that's the band I should have mentioned earlier as well when we were trying to work out who we wanted to be. You know, because there was like this brief period of MTV in New Zealand, and there was this sort of indie show they'd have on like one night a week or something, and I remember there would be like the Beta Band and Spiritualized and that Moon Safari stuff. I remember Sexy Boy coming on MTV and just going, this is so beautiful. What are these instruments? And I didn't know what a mini Moog was. I didn't know what a Rhodes was. And then Luke bought a Rhodes. He was like, because we were all just vibing on these things that had like Rhodes and synths and stuff, and we just didn't know what they fucking were. I didn't even know like what a delay pedal was, you know.
I think you just grow up with guitars, really, don't you? In high school, that was all there really was.
Yeah, and there'd be like a distortion button on the amp.
Yeah, there's a grunge pedal or a metal zone, but it wasn't a Rhodes.
I remember being like 14 and I was really into Nirvana. I went to a guitar shop and I asked them how Nirvana got that sound that sounded so crazy in the choruses. And the guy must have been completely confused or just like a dick or something, because he told me that you had to strum down by the bridge and that's how it sounded heavy. And I was like,
wow.
And I was like, oh, okay. And then I went home and I was trying to do that and I was like, that's not the sound. But all he needed to say was you need a distortion pedal. Maybe he just couldn't believe that I had no concept of a distortion pedal. Like, I just didn't know they existed. There was no, you know, the internet was a very new thing. I didn't know how to kind of search
of course.
that.
It was just with someone.
I hadn't been to many gigs, so I hadn't seen them on the ground. And no one at school, no one in any bands at school had any pedals. So it was very confusing. It was a very confusing conversation. But what were we talking about? Oh yeah, Rhodes. Yeah. So yeah, Luke took me to this piano store in Newtown, which no longer exists, and they had a Rhodes at the back.
I know the place. I think I know where you're talking about.
It was like an old cinema or something, just full of pianos.
Yeah. I feel like the guy from Rhombus worked there for a wee while.
I think he did.
Yeah, at some point, and they did have some guitars.
Tom.
Was that his name?
Yeah.
Luke Bench has a good story about him, but I can't even remember what it is. Damn it, sorry, because it comes up when I catch up with Luke in LA. Something about the guy from Rhombus. This is useless. I need to ask him and insert it at the end of the podcast. Is there like a band that's your antithesis, or a song you never need to hear ever again by the band? Do you a hater in that way? Luke was telling me last night. Luke Buda, he's not a hater.
I'm not anymore. I think I used to be. I think I used to say lots of mean things, especially about New Zealand bands and stuff. I thought that was cool, just to be a bit mean about shit, to be dismissive and to be focused on what it was that I'm into. But I think these days, that fucking sucks. To be
well, also, you start to realize that if anyone can have success in the music industry, I'm like, congratulations to you guys. It's really difficult for everyone, and if you're managing to pull it off,
I mean, I do quite often think, oh, it's a shame that the stuff that is so popular is usually kind of
not very good.
Not very good.
Yeah.
But at the same time, when there's stuff that's really popular, that's not my type of music at all, but I can hear the power in it, then I love it. And I think any genre of music, any instrument, any type of person, any sort of type of personality is going to make an interesting bit of music in some kind of genre. Yeah. There's room in music for all sorts of assholes and pricks and weirdos and just people with their own unique take on the world. And I don't want to be closing out any type of music. I always want to be able to go, well, I never liked anything in that genre, but now I've heard the thing that's opened my eyes to it, opened my ears to it.
What changed for you to get you to that point? Just maturity?
Yeah, maybe, but maybe the world's changed quite a lot as well. Maybe they're just, those divisions don't really exist anymore. And I think when I was 19, I was just totally obsessed with like the Velvet Underground and the way the Velvet Underground dressed. And I look at photos of me now back then, and I think, well, I'd actually dressed really badly and look not cool at all. But I kind of felt like you could tell who, I was always like obsessed, you could tell who was into good music by the way they dressed. There would be sort of certain clues if they wore op shop clothes or something. Maybe they had some weird old leather boots. You'd be like, oh yeah, they're probably into these kinds of records that I like and no one else likes. But now you can just see someone and they're wearing a black and white stripy t-shirt and some tight black jeans and some cool rock and roll boots from the 60s, and they look like they could totally be in the Velvet Underground, but they've just got it all from H&M and they work in a bank, and that's fine. Like the kind of divisions of like the underground and the overground have kind of completely gone now, and those things don't really exist. But it was a thing, definitely was a thing. 20 years ago, there was an underground, and if you wanted to be part of it, you had to follow some codes of social behavior, I think.
I think also remembering that 20 years ago in Wellington and all of the bands, there was a lot of nasty energy around, like very competitive, people slagging each other off and behind each other's backs, but it was weird. It was when like Ian Blink was putting on gigs and people were like, I don't know about that guy, that band that he looked after sucks, well fuck them, blah blah, and going to Indigo, it was just, there's like a weird thing. I was probably 19 or 20 around, and then I moved to Melbourne because I just needed to get out because it was wearing me down. But there was like, because it was a small community, there was a competitive nature, and people would, I don't know, there's a bit of hating going on.
There was quite a bit of hating going on. There was a bit of that, and I think that was the early days of like internet forums and stuff. You know?
There was the NZ Music Forum,
and people would just be shitty, man. I'd have no memory of really what sort of shit I said on that website, but I'd hate to go back and look at it now because I'm sure I would have been a fucking dick.
Yeah.
I don't know. That attitude just doesn't seem relevant today, you know, to just be like, my band is cooler than your band. I feel like there's fucking bigger problems right now. And if you want to make music, great. Good on you.
Yeah, sure. Do you think the world is coming to a bitter end? Where are we headed, Sam?
Well, I hope not, because I have children and I want them to have a good and full life. But it does feel like we're pretty fucked.
what do you do? What are people supposed to do? How do we fix it? I think what Luke and I last night were saying. It's keep cups. That's the answer.
Keep cups, yeah.
Ban the bag and keep cups.
Man, my neighbour's just got an electric car, and I thought, fuck that. If they've got an electric guitar, no.
We all need electric guitar.
I've got enough electric guitars. Last me a lifetime. If they've got an electric car, then I can have an electric car. Like, now I've got no, like.
Now you have to get one.
They're not like better
someone
off.
could have died
they're not financially better
someone
off.
Might have died and they inherited some money. If that you could just imagine that.
But they got one of those Nissan Leafs. They're not very much money.
Right.
They're quite cheap. But, that's not... But a few woke, middle-aged family people buying Nissan Leafs isn't going to save the world. What's actually going to save the world is people my age just getting out of the way and shutting up and letting people Greta Thunberg's age, tell us what to do. That's actually the reality. It's just like listen to really young people.
Yeah.
But with, every generation is pretty bad at listening to the next generation. So I don't have a huge amount of hope in that.
I don't know what the answer is. I'm just always fascinated to ask people. And then do
you ask everyone that on the podcast?
I think I kind of have been, yeah.
Yeah, you get different answers from the same people on different days,
Yeah,
I feel like another day I might have said, no, there's so much hope, we're gonna turn this around.
Do you think making music, what difference does it make?
It doesn't make any difference making music. It's great, but it doesn't make the world a better place. It makes the world a better place for it's ephemeral, isn't it? It makes you feel better in the moment and then it's gone. Mm-hmm. It's like cocaine, It's not going to help in the long run.
Does that affect how you feel about what you do for a vocation then, or
it's fine. This is what I do for a vocation, and that's fine. But I'm not going to pretend that it's going to solve climate change. I mean, the people who are going to solve the real big problems are going to be economists who can get us out of the model that's fucking stifled the whole planet. Just constant progress, constant growth, constantly just trying to build more intense wealth through stock market gains, which just has driven massive inequality. So it's going to be economists, and it's going to be scientists, and it's going to be innovators who can take actually listen to the climate scientists and make new things that are going to make a massive difference. But that's not going to be me, and I'm not going to pretend that if I write a song about the environment that it'll make any difference at all. I definitely write most of my songs at the moment have got some edge in it where I'm thinking about climate change, because that's just
I guess
how can you not, if you're not affected in every move you make at the moment by climate change, then you're not tuned into reality. Mm-hmm. I reckon. But it doesn't mean that you're helping.
I guess I'm fascinated by what people think art does culturally anyway, if it really matters. Because it's something I do struggle with myself when I just spend so much of my time writing and recording and playing shows and doing them. What am I really... Does it even make any fucking difference?
Well, it's a good job. It's a fun job.
It's a great job.
So it's do it. People need it. People want it. It's a service.
Yeah.
It's like cooking good food, If you're good at it, do it. People will love it. You enjoy it.
Yeah. Don't think too much more about it.
Yeah, you don't... you just have to. Everyone has to make little personal choices about how they live their lives, and I think touring's a pretty big, scary one, because I think we probably do need to. The world's going to need to cut back on travel massively, and bands are people who can make that decision to not do that. But it really is how musicians make money these days. So it's a real tricky one.
Yeah, I had that one with flights and things. I haven't even really thought about it, how much you sort of get around the world in that way. I don't know. Not like a car or something. It seems way easier to maybe ride a bike or go for a walk instead than like, I'm not going to go to this country to visit so-and-so because I'm fucking up the planet.
Yeah.
Take
but
a
the
boat.
flying is heaps worse.
Yeah.
But
I know. But I got to keep cut, man. So, it's all good.
Yeah, I paid the 50-cent offset thing when I booked my ticket.
Is there like a musical ethic that you have when approaching writing or production or something that you always, when do you know when something's decent or you chuck it in the rubbish? Does it have to feel a certain way for you?
I don't know. I think things get me really excited and then I go out for a walk and I listen to them 20 times in a row. And if I still like them after that, then they're probably going to stick around. Mm-hmm. But there's certainly things that I think are fantastic and then other people in the band go, yeah, that's shit. And then it gets thrown away. And then I remember it a while later and it goes onto a solo record and then I'm like, it was actually pretty good and that person was wrong. Or I'll listen to it a few years later and go, oh, it is shit. They were right. But that's fine. That's what collaborating's all about.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I never know really if anything's actually good for a long time after first writing it.
Yeah. And do songs just keep coming to you forever? Doesn't really matter?
I don't know. I don't think they do. I think people have got a kind of limit, don't they? I don't know.
I don't know either. I haven't run out yet, but I keep
I think I thought I'd run out and then I found some more.
Yeah.
I found some in the back of the cupboard.
I think you have to put new like feed the machine with new input though, don't you?
You do. You do have to listen to music.
Yeah.
To make music. And sometimes I forget to listen to music.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some sort of mission that you've got to be on to at least get new chords. I want to write a James Bond theme song at some point in my life, so I've been studying all the James Bond songs. And that's immediately, there's some new progressions that I wouldn't have thought of.
Well, they've all got those because they use those dramatic changes.
Yeah,
there's a few little ones. It's going to be a James Bond song, it's got to have those.
Yes, exactly.
The things where you feel like, oh my god, something very incredible is about to happen.
The power change, the chord change. But you are all over. Do you guys go on massive chord journeys as well?
We do go on big chord journeys. It's always been quite instinctual. A chord sort of zone. I think we're very lucky because I think that between me and Luke and Conrad, we've all got great melodic instincts.
Mm-hmm.
If I can,
you can
be so bold as to say that,
Sam,
I think,
please.
And there are people who are good songwriters in some ways, but maybe don't always have the satisfying sense of melody that I personally always want. Mm-hmm. And I think if Luke was writing songs where I didn't like the melodic shifts and I didn't like his chord changes, then I'd find it impossible to be. I couldn't be in a band with him. We would have broken up 18 years ago, and probably vice versa, But because I always kind of have the same sense of joy in his melodies as I do, listening to someone like the Beatles or something, You got
to be in a band with someone who you love what they do musically. Otherwise, you have to be a fan of the members in your band. I think of what they bring you. And
I think that's the thing, though, that there's lots of music that's popular and that people like, but it doesn't have my sense of what a melody should be. Mm-hmm. And I don't like the Who. I don't like their melodies. But lots of other people love The Who, but I just think their sense of melody is fucked, but heaps of people love it.
Then what about the Stones?
Well, the Stones, I love the Stones, but a lot of the Stones is just blues, isn't it, really? But,
yeah.
But then there's that period in the late 60s, early 70s, and when they really did write some incredible songs. And I love, the disco stuff. I love, Waiting on a Friend and, Miss You and that Some Girls... Tattoo You era.
They just haven't never really done it for me because I've never heard a chord change in there that's made me go, ooh.
Right. Well, so often it is the blues, isn't it?
Yeah. Whereas, you
Do you know that song "Waiting on a Friend"? You should listen.
I don't
to
know
that.
if I know it. No, I have to check
you should
it
listen
out.
to that tonight.
Okay.
And then send me a message.
Okay.
And tell me, oh yeah.
Okay, they moved. They did a good chord progression.
It's just a beautiful song.
Waiting on a
Friend.
Waiting on a Friend. Okay.
But that's a song that they started recording in the early 70s, and then when Keith was too fucked up on Smack to make an album, Mick went through all the old half-finished things and then fished that out and wrote some lyrics and got someone to play saxophone on it. And the lyrics are about him waiting for Keith Richards to kind of get off the Smack.
Right.
Basically, I think that's what I think, because that's what was going on.
I think I just never thought that Mick Jagger's had any real heart. And I mean that.
Yeah,
like,
I know. I agree, but I still love it.
No. Of course he has at some point. It's just when you weren't there, people tell you, oh, if you were there in the 70s or the 60s or whatever, you have a completely different opinion. But because I think about what musically, what sometimes has stood the test of time, and then you listen to that, you hear it differently, you know. Whereas some of those Beatles songs and George Harrison and shit, the chord changes and you're like, that is still really, really great musically.
But then my favorite shit is always Velvet Underground, and that's musically so simple, so often.
it is,
but it's conceptually very complicated.
Yeah, they do have something special. But yeah, you guys are very chordy. I love it.
We're very chordy. The other person that was a big inspiration in our chordy stuff would be Frank Black and his stuff after the Pixies broke up.
I've never listened to that.
It's very chordy. It's crazy chordy.
He just was making it all up. He's just like a music, because I always wonder how much they're studying other people's songs, or if they just noodle for ages and find those progressions. Because
I never study anyone else's songs. I can't play anyone else's songs really. So maybe lately I've started learning a few things that I love. I got a Beatles songbook and started learning all the Beatles songs that I've been listening to my whole life. But everything I've ever played is just me accidentally going to the next note and thinking that's the one that I need.
Do you go, it needs to go somewhere, and then try the 6 different options until it moves and you feel it's in the right spot, or you just fumble correctly quickly?
I try not to think about it. I try to just play the guitar and not think about what I'm doing at all, and then just wait for the song to exist without me really getting in the way of it.
Right. So it's, you sort of channeling it.
I know it's a very cheesy thing to say, but I think that is how I write songs. I just kind of pick up the guitar and start playing something, and usually 30 seconds later I put down the guitar and go and check Facebook. But sometimes I pick up the guitar and start playing something, and then I'm like, yeah, that's all right. What is that? Okay, I know. And I'm going to sing this word that was in my head earlier. And then something might start to form. And then if that feels cool, and that's like I've found a cool instinctual, that might be 50% of the song. That might be like most of the song done in a few minutes.
Yeah, then
the other 50% of the song will take me 2 years.
Yeah. Yes, you got to. And do you have notepads of lyrics, or you wait? Because I was listening to Gaz Coombs from Supergrass. I heard him interviewed the other day, and he would say he wouldn't waste lyrics until he knows that a song is worth it. And then once he goes, this is something. Yeah. Now I'll turn these melodies into lyrics. Right. Sometimes you've got
You know what? I love Supergrass, and I love Gaz Coombs. He's an incredible singer, just such a talent. But he's not a good lyricist, I don't reckon.
No, they're always just kind of a little silly and playful. He's never been particularly serious. But his new, have you heard his solo records? I have heard. They're kind of he's pushing it a little more. Right. I think I wouldn't say he's excellent. I suspect
in Supergrass a lot of the lyrics are written by the bass player. That's always been my feeling that it's a collaborative thing, and maybe the bass player was kind of
doing it with him.
Yeah, they feel like they're written by committee. They don't. Some of them, like Late in the Day, is beautiful. That feels like that was probably Gaz in a bedroom by himself. There's always ones like that where you kind of go, "Oh, this is a beautiful, perfect song." But then a lot of them, you feel like they're a band-written song, and it's a very different thing. It's a bit more impersonal.
I think that's why his solo records I've been enjoying, because there's a bit more seriousness to them. They're not as jocular or sort of jovial as what Supergrass was.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably and his chords.
Yeah, he's a
Were-
real chord genius.
Yeah. I'm obsessed with that.
I write all my lyrics on my laptop. I have for a very long time, and I find that's the way I like to look at them. I don't like to write things down. It takes me so long to write by hand,
Yeah.
and I like to be able to move things around. I like to go copy and paste.
I do the exact same thing.
Because then I'll spend like, if I have a piece of music where I've got a few lyrics which come out at the start, and then I record a whole song, record a whole demo, get a whole structure, work on all of that, and I start to feel like that's good, then I might spend maybe 6 hours working on the lyrics for that one song. So I'll just put headphones on and I'll just sing and write and delete, and then make another coffee, and then sing and write and delete and chop around and move things around and copy things out, and then double it and then delete it and start again, and then do some harmonies, and then go back to the original thing and wipe it all, and then after doing this for hours and hours, I'll then be like, oh, okay, these are the lyrics for the song. But it's very much a recording process and a writing process on the computer to actually get a finished lyric. And I do get sort of hyper focused. These days, in the last few albums, that's probably maybe 4 or 5 albums. That's probably what I've done for different projects.
I'd say I probably would be similar. And when I guess we didn't have laptops the same in the time. And
also I would stay up all night. I don't know about you, but when I started, I'd just stay up all night writing a song.
Yeah.
Without anything, without a notepad or anything. But I would have to be remembering things, and I have to keep playing. And then I'd go to the band and we'd do it in the band practice room, and then we'd go to a studio. But I don't have the luxury of staying up all night to do it now. My body can't handle it. I've got to feed my children in the morning. I don't want to have to deal with that after staying up all night singing a song.
But the change in your way of writing you don't think it's made you worse or anything?
No, I kind of think it's made me better, but that's probably just, it's a value judgment. That's probably
No, but I think you can tell.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm not sure, because I do think that the first couple of records we put out are probably the things that will last a bit longer. But I think that I personally prefer everything from probably Buffalo onwards lyrically. But then maybe I'm just not giving the early stuff enough leeway.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought.
No, I don't.
To me, it seems like you guys are just as vital and getting better as songwriters as you go. So
I think that, but I don't know if I'm
okay
right in thinking that.
Well, Sam, I think
matter.
so.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah, I love what you guys do. Hey, what better place to end it?
Let's end it there. With me
it.
feeling embarrassed. And thank you so much. It's a good chat.
Thanks, Sam. Thank you, Sam. It was lovely to get to sit down and ask him all those questions that have been floating around my mind over the years while I've been listening to their records. Like I said, since their record Pegasus came out in 2005, I've been a huge fan. I've listened to every record as they've been released, and I've gotten pretty deep into their music. What I was trying to say when I called some of their songs useless, I think that came across wrong. What I meant is there's this Oscar Wilde quote that says, "We can forgive a man for making a useful thing as long as he does not admire it. The only excuse for making a useless thing is that one admires it intensely. All art is quite useless." And I guess the point I sort of was trying to make is that I love music that serves no purpose other than to just be beautiful and be admired, art for art's sake. And there are a bunch of tracks on those Phoenix Foundation records over the years, mainly the sort of instrumental pieces, which feel like they're created just to be admired for their elegance. And I guess, my last record, Romantica, was me trying to do exactly that. It was just to try and make music that's completely for art's sake, and to try and create something that is just oral art. It's not there to make people dance or to make them think or be challenged in any way. It's just there to be glamorous and delightful, and that's it. And I think some of those Phoenix Foundation songs do that so well. I love it. So yes, check out some links in the podcast description. I've made a playlist of a bunch of my favorite Phoenix Foundation songs. I've also put a link to their video for the song 40 Years, which is directed by and stars Kiwi director Taika Waititi. It's a brilliant clip and one of my favorite songs by the band. I've also included a link to the song Waiting on a Friend Friend by the Rolling Stones. I listened to it, as Sam said. He told me, go home and listen to that song and text me, and I did, but I can't do Mick Jagger. He just rubs me the wrong way. I texted Sam back that night after that, the video of William, aka will.i.am, featuring J-Lo and Mick Jagger. There's this song called The Hardest, and Mick Jagger turns up at the end of it, and since I've seen that, I can't go back on Jagger. It's like I've seen the dark side. But I've included a link to that. You have to see it. It's pretty mental. Has to be seen to be believed. It's pretty funny. All right, thanks so much. If you could do me a favor, give the podcast a review or rating. I'd appreciate that. It helps me keep my clout level up and attracts these sweet guests that I keep getting. So if you want more hot ramblings from the bottom of it, that kind of thing really helps. So I'd appreciate that. Awesome. Until the next episode, take care. Be nice to each other. Smile at a stranger. All that stuff. See you soon. Bye-bye.